Welcome back, everybody. As we've been reporting, Donald Trump continues his outreach to the African-American community, hoping to make inroads come Election Day. His stop today at a black church in Detroit, making news as he tells parishioners there he wants to listen and learn from them. African-American voters make up about 80% of the population in that city. The Republican nominee telling congregants that he has their best interests at heart.
I believe we need a civil rights agenda for our time, one that ensures the rights to a great education, so important, and the right to live in safety and in peace, and to have a really, really great job, a good paying job, and one that you love to go to every morning.
And joining us now with more reaction to Donald Trump's efforts, former Super Bowl champion Burgess Owens, who's been very outspoken with his criticism of the Democratic Party and its relationship with African-American voters. He's also the author of Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. Welcome. It's great to have you on the program today.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Sure. Very topical discussion here.
Absolutely. So I want to get your first impressions as you take a look at the video that's making news today of Donald Trump in Detroit, trying to make a connection there with voters in a very specific way. How do you see it?
Well, first of all, it's so refreshing. I happen to be very proud to come from my segregated black community, one who was very successful. And it's so refreshing to finally hear somebody talking about this after 8 years of a black president who didn't. And I hope that people really take the time to understand we're looking for answers. It's now time for the promises of 60 years to go away and deal with the real issues of people that are suffering. Black misery is at an all-time high, and it's under Democratic policies. And so it's nice to hear that somebody's talking about it, going to Detroit, going to these places that really need to see it and see these changes.
So you're among those who really believe that the Democrats take the African-American vote for granted?
Absolutely, and it's historical. My book talks about it in detail. I guess if I can just say this, because I do agree, I disagree in a big way with Black Lives Matter and this young quarterback who just did this demonstration recently, but we can't agree on one thing. We can't agree that there's black oppression. And I'm going to ask them to join me, to stand with me, to ask John Lewis, Elijah Cummings, the Black Caucus, to retire immediately. They have done absolutely nothing for the black race for the decades they've been in place, other than vote and support 100% with no backbone whatsoever the anti-black policies of the Democratic Party. So I was fortunate to play with two great quarterbacks, Joe Namath and Jim Plunkett, and we all retired when we could not produce. It's now time for this group of Democrats who have not stood for our race. Their results is in these cities that are at the top of the list of black misery. It's time for them to retire immediately, and for those who don't want to, which they won't, it's time for us to educate their communities that we need to work against them to get them out of there. All these black Democrats, we need to get rid of them.
Well, you know, it was interesting. Mr. Trump did make specific mention of trying to make a difference to try to improve the lives of young black men. Let's listen to what he had to say there for a moment.
Nothing is more sad than when we sideline young black men with unfulfilled potential, tremendous potential. We're one nation, and when anyone hurts, we all hurt together, and that's so true, so true.
Why do you think right now there are so many people within the African-American community who really mistrust Donald Trump and really don't even want to listen to what he has to say because they already have preconceived notions of what he represents?
Well, it's actually part of this is what the Democratic Party has done to our race. They have convinced us that it's okay for groupthink, for blacks to think with their skin. At the end of the day, we have right now 83% of black teen males are unemployed across our country. 70% of black men forsake their family, leave their kids in marriage. Across the board, illiteracy is going through the roof. 93% of black men, people are being killed by black people. These are issues that we need to talk about, and it's not white people doing it to us. It's policies, and it's the policies of the Democrats. If we educate ourselves and understand that what these policies have done for decades, then we'll start to see where we are. And it's not because of white, rich Republicans. It's those who run the communities where this black misery is the highest.
But doesn't criticism also have to go to the GOP? Because for so long, the GOP felt that it couldn't make any inroads at all, so it just decided to sidestep making some of those overtures because they felt like there was no way they could have any impact.
You know, you just hit it on the head, and that's why my book talks about political free agency. We need to, as a race, start looking at our principles and values first. If we're capitalists, let's stop voting for democratic socialists. If we're Christians, let's stop voting for democratic atheists. If we believe in that all kids should have education no matter how poor they are, we cannot vote for the Democratic Party, including President Obama, who believes we should keep our kids segregated in these poor bad schools. And if we believe in the sanctity of life, it's time for us as a race, for those who believe this, to stand up and stop voting for these black and white Democratic Margaret Singers who believe our kids are nothing but weeds. We can pull our race back by being political free agents and make the Democratic Party and the Republican Party work for our vote, be accountable. We do that, we can not only, I think, bring our race back, but I truly believe that small minority, 28% of black Americans who feel the way I do, very patriotic, love our country, love our race, we can bring our country back at the same time.
Burgess Owens, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us with your insights. It's a great book, and I urge people to check it out. Thanks so much, and take good care.
Thank you, a real pleasure. Thank you so much.